Hi everyone, the title of this video is Meaningful Instruction. I created this video to share some considerations and some tips to strengthen your instructional practices in your Tier 1 Wit and Wisdom core instruction. So to begin, I want to share these two references. First is the TNTP report, the New Teacher Project report. Great minds utilize this report when creating the program Wit and Wisdom. And this report was conducted a few years ago. Researchers analyzed thousands of student work samples, looked at teacher lesson plans, did student interviews, and they found 4 factors that contribute to the greatest amount of student learning. 1, high engagement on the part of the students. 2, strong instruction, where the rigor, the heavy load, the work is placed on the students with appropriate instruction to help them manage the work. Great appropriate assignments and high expectations. The second reference I have here is a teacher book that I have. You're welcome to borrow it. It's called Who's Doing the Work? And it shares some chapters and considerations about how do you make students accountable for their own learning. I think so many of us, we want to make sure our students are experiencing success, so we take a lot of the rigor on ourselves. We're exhausted, we're writing the paragraphs and having them copy, we're reading the text aloud to them, we're guiding them to answer the questions, and they're walking away maybe having learned a little bit because they're watching the teacher answer these questions, but are they really demonstrating that they're learning? So when we look into our Wit and Wisdom instruction, we're going to focus on 3 areas. 1, we're going to focus on the learning goals. 2, we're going to focus on the what and why, moves that you as the teacher or that the student makes in each of the lessons. And finally, modifications. Modifications need to be made for several reasons. 1, it's been a very unstable learning environment with the students coming in and out and hybrid and full day and half day and all sorts of things. Also, some students are striving readers or above level readers, and we need to make modifications for those students. So today I really just want you to take a purposeful look at the modifications that you're making and making sure you are implementing the program with integrity. So the first bullet point there, learning goals. And again, we want to focus on strengthening your instructional practice. And I think the best way to do that is recognizing what are the students supposed to be able to know and what are they supposed to be able to do? How are they being assessed? What resources are you using and how are you using them? And asking yourself, am I letting the students do the work? So let's head over to the Great Minds website and take a look into the teacher's manual and address some of these points. So I am on the Great Minds website. I'm going to go into grade 3 and I am going to pick module 3. This is probably a review for most of you, but I think it's so worthwhile at the beginning of every module to go back in, review your learning goals, review your assessments, review your expectations, just so you are really purposefully making instructional decisions that are the best for your students. I'm going to click on Module Overview. I am going to go to Module Learning Goals. It looks like they are ask and answer questions to determine understanding of a text. In both literature and informational, describe the traits, motivations, or feeling of characters, and explain how their actions contribute to the sequence of events in literature, point of view, and compare and contrast different elements of stories written by the same author. My writing goals, they're going to be writing a narrative to develop real or imagined experiences or events using effective techniques, descriptive details, and clear event sequences. So that gives me a lens into what's really important when I am going to plan out my daily lessons, when I'm looking at what I need to really hit hard and what I need to do to prepare the students to meet those learning goals. So the next place I'm going to go is I am going to go to major assessments. In the first one, the students have to write a multi-paragraph explanatory essay that compares and contrasts 2 stories by Ellen Say. Remember over here you have your elements that support success. They're organizing information, they're using text evidence, they're ensuring subject-verb agreement, and the development and organization are appropriate to task and purpose. So it's an explanatory essay, and you're comparing and contrasting. I want you to think back to one of those standards about comparing and contrasting two stories by the same author. Here we go right here. The second focusing question task, they're writing a narrative. And even if this isn't your grade level, I think, just seeing a demonstration of how to walk through this, picking out those key words is really purposeful when you're planning your own module. They're introducing a character and situation. One of those learning goals was looking at characters and describing how they respond to different events or a sequence of events. Look at your third focusing question test. You're writing a narrative again. They're introducing a character and a situation. They're sequencing events in time using time order words. And then you have your grammar skills down here for elements of success. So each of these focusing question tasks ties to one of those standards. They're writing explanatory. They're writing two narratives. And then your end of module task. Let me head on down to that. Write a short narrative that describes a moment from one of the module tasks. Text. They're establishing a situation, introducing the character, organizing, closure. So you have all of these different things for what the students have to be able to know have to know and have to be able to do. Let's look at what resources the students are using. We have an informational picture book, 4 literary picture books, photography, and then your supplemental text here, different multimedia links, stories, video, journalism. What I like to do is look into the module map and see when they're using what. So it looks like they're using Grandfather's Journey up through lesson 6. At the beginning, we always start with a notice and wonder. So I like to look and see. So an interesting thing about this, I like to look in that first lesson and see how they're using the resource. It looks like here the students are reading and examining Grandfather's Journey on their own. I'm not reading the book aloud to them as a teacher. They're reading it on their own. And then I'm going to read it aloud after they've already done a first read by themselves. So again, I like looking at the resources and think, how am I using these? So I've had the students, read it on their own for the first read. I've read it aloud for the second read, and I notice in lesson 3, the students are counting off by threes, forming small expert groups based on their numbers. And they each have a task where they also have a section of the text. Each small expert group rereads Grandfather's Journey looking for evidence that will help them answer one of the assigned questions. So, if you're going through these instructional practices as stated in the manual, there is that gradual release of responsibility, and you are letting the students do the work. If you've maybe made some modifications because you weren't feeling confident in that the students would be able to do it, I encourage you to make that a purposeful change. I really want you to focus on giving the rigor to the students and allowing them to take on that work. That is the only way they are going to grow and the only way they are going to learn. I remember from the module map that the students go to a different text in lesson 7. It's called Tea with Milk. It's by the same author. So I wanted to take a look at what they do with this resource. Whereas with Grandfather's Journey, they read it silently to themselves or with a partner. Here, they're going to preview the text, notice and wonder, and then they're sharing what they noticed and wondered with students from another group. That's an awesome practice that really makes what they're doing authentic. Hey, I noticed this. I'm going to tell you about it, rather than a practice that maybe is disengaging, like having the students all come together to share their notices and wonders. This is definitely more of a engaging practice. You're going to read Tea with Milk aloud. When you use it on the rest of the days through this focusing question arc, identifying their story elements. Oh, look, in lesson 8, they're rereading Tea with the Milk on their own. So I want you to be really purposeful when thinking about your learning goals and how you're utilizing the resources that are given to reach those learning goals.